ductyls. And we'll finish with a few slides right along the base of the skull and rolling the whole skin of the nape of the neck up and slowly letting it go. And then left hand slides down to the sacrum, right hand there at C7. Just pull them toward you and have them roll over on their back. While you step to the foot of the table and get their feet in the middle of the table. And it's probably a good idea to already have a sense of where their head is. You want them down an inch or an inch and a half from the top. And a lot of times you can tell from here. And remember, we're going to traction them first. We're going to pull them our way a little bit. So step back, grab the feet, bounce the legs. And step up, feet out, windshield wipers in. So this round, I'm going to maybe talk a little bit less and move us along a little bit faster. And so windshield wipers out. So remember, push them close to the ankles, not on the toes. Now widen the legs as far as the table will let you. You get a little more push in. And heels together, windshield wipers out. And then scoop both heels up in one hand, grab your pillow with the other, lift and slide the pillow up under their knees, and separate the feet, set them down about shoulder width apart with the knees in the middle of the pillow. And we step to our left. We're going to grab their wrists and even out their shoulders. And fold their hands over the lower rib cage. Left knee up on the table. Hands around to the low back. And we'll lift and bounce and flatten out that low back. And removing your knee, this would be the time to drape the upper body if we needed to. We turn and face their knee and start rocking. Good rock on the hip joint. But that gets a good fling of the foot to work the ankle. Meanwhile, we're using the pillow to work the knee. We're bouncing. And the patella should be moving around too. We'll let that drift to a halt. And we'll start our ductyls just above the patella. And work up the thigh. Nice broad squeeze, and that lifts the muscle away from the bones. We get up as high as we can on the thigh and then turn around and head back down. So even though the thighs are big with two hands, we cruise through this pretty well. So remember, there's no rocking on this side because of ticklishness. And now as we get to the top, we pivot headward and we start our fist presses. So on either side of the rectus femoris, and we're working down on the stomach on the outside, springing on the inside, all the way to the knee joint. Back up to the top, same start point, but then we widen as we go down and pick up the liver and gallbladder channels. Make sure your fingertips are out, not curled up. And use your pecs. Okay, third round. Wider still. So by the time we're done, we've got the whole upper half of the thigh pressed. And this time our channels are second part of the gallbladder on the outside, kidney on the inside. We already did the bladder on the back, so we don't need to worry about that. As we get to the knee, we slip our fingers around the back, and then your thumbs come down right on top of the patella, and we'll start our circles around the kneecap. 3 concentric circles. Again, squeezing pretty firmly, even though it's very bony. Don't hook your thumbs, it's your thumb pads. Use your pecs to get the power and strength, so that helps if your elbows are out. table, so you have good vantage. We should end the third circle at the tuberosity of the tibia. We'll turn, face the leg, push it away from us. Just need the toes pointed toward the ceiling. But sometimes we also need to widen the leg a little bit. And then we'll prop it up. Your knee should be just below the malleolus. Your left hand stays above the knee. Your right hand's going to find that prominence, the tuberosity, and come just off the lateral side. We're in that big groove between the tibia and the tibialis. Right thumb is the one pressing, and we're leaning into the thumb to get the pressure. All the way down to the central ankle hollow, stomach 41, and back up to the top. The tuberosity marks the level of stomach 36. This second time, we turn our thumb across the fibers, and that should be right at stomach 36. And we'll look down. The middle of the muscle, the length of your thumb pretty much spans. Until we run out of muscle, then we can turn the thumb sideways again and follow the tendon to the ankle. Back up to the top, find the lateral edge of the tibialis. And that more subtle groove between the tibialis and the extensor digitorum. But then following the tendon brings us right back on top of the ankle with that big hollow there. Okay, stepping back with the right foot, we push the leg even further away. Right thumb still working. Find the head of the fibula. You need to circle around a little bit. Find that bony prominence, and then just inferior and anterior corner is our start for our gallbladder channel. And we're just trying to visualize that we're going down along the anterior edge of the fibula all the way down. We come right in front of the lateral malleolus into the sinus tarsi, gallbladder 40, and we step up, bringing the left leg up onto the table, pushing the pant leg up out of the way, and draping it over our thigh. Make sure the curves match. So that should be your left knee. Okay. And the tiger's mouth, get a nice clamp, push it down into your thigh. Meanwhile, right hand grabs the underside of the foot, wraps around the big toe, and we can crank the foot around. Just one direction, and the other. Maybe reverse it again a couple of times, and then reverse it again a couple of times. Then we'll pivot our fingers down so the heel of your palm is on the ball of their foot. Dorsiflexions. Strong push headward. Stretches both the bladder channel and back and the stomach channel and first. 3 or 4 of those is enough. Then just wrap your hand back around. Bring your left thumb to join your hand and curl your fingers in behind the medial malleolus to start our 4-finger presses. Working up the yin channels of the leg, from the ankle to the knee. So we go right up until we hit the condyle or feel bone, then jump back to the malleolus. That's kidney 3 behind the malleolus, between the bone and the Achilles. This time we're coming up the liver channel, so we're a little bit posterior to the first line, the spleen line. Further behind the bone, we again come all the way up till we hit the condyle of the tibia, and then back to kidney 3. This third pass will be the kidney channel. So through the soleus, and then we pick up the medial head of the gastroc, but we should be just anterior, just grazing along that edge of it, but we'll follow it all the way to the medial dimple behind the knee. And then we'll start our smoothing all three of those channels out. Then we're going to focus on the shaft of the bone on the lower half of the leg. That part of the liver channel we didn't get behind. And then finish the whole thing out with the full length of the fingers, the whole inside of the calf, leg. We'll end at the top, grab the cuff and pull it down as we step to the foot of the table, and we're going to spread the dorsum of the foot. Basically 3 times, but I also kind of work from the bases to the head. Then we'll work the bottom of the foot, spreading the bones apart. Get some traction with your finger pads. Then we're going to alternate top and bottom. And step back with one foot. We'll do our thumb slides from the ankle to the web margins. Stomach 41, right on through the MP joints, roll onto the sides of your thumbs. Pull that off. And stepping back, make sure you clear yourself. You don't run into yourself. Okay, then stepping up and widening your stance. Cradle the heel with your right, toes with the left, and vibrate the toes. You got a little traction on the heel, on the back of the leg. That gives us a good wobble. So the foot really shouldn't move, just the toes. And brush off and walk your feet in, isolate the little toe, and we're going to press and clamp the lateral line out to bladder 67. Then down the middle onto the nail. Then the medial side nail point will be kidney 0. And on to the 4th toe. Ending at gallbladder 44. And down the middle, remember we got 5 presses per line. And it's not a crooked thumb. Just a nice clamp between the thumb and the forefinger. Wrap that forefinger around the back of the toe to get good back support. Onto the 2nd toe. So all 3 lines are on the dorsum. You just kind of change the angle of your pressure. And now both thumbs on the big toe, spleen and liver lines, then down the middle, ending on the nail, then repeat the spleen and liver lines. As we finish that up for the second pass, step between the feet and start the back of the heel, thumb presses along the medial aspect of the foot to the ball of the big toe, just the arch line. And the second line a little bit higher, but still inferior to especially the metatarsal. And we'll end at spleen 3. Press and rotate there. So here you can hook your thumbs. One of the few times you can do that. It should be between the bone and the plantar fascia. As we release, we let go and squeeze both feet. And step to our right. As I step up, my left hand goes to the knee. I pivot, turn, and start rocking. That hip a good workout. Also the foot and ankle. And using the pillow to work the knee. And the patella, really warming everything up. We'll let it drift to a halt and start our duckbill squeeze and lifts without the rock. as high as you can on the thigh, then turn around, head back down. Back up. So the pattern here is up, down, up, because we now want to start the fist presses at the top. So you can cue off the ASIS. It should be down inferior to that. Our start point, spleen and stomach line, and back up to the top, liver and gallbladder. Thumbs point headward. Fingers aren't curled up in there. It's not a tight fist, it's a loose fist. This line all the way out to the sides. Posterior edge of the IT band, the gallbladder line, and kidney along the gracilis on the inside. You get to the knee, slip your fingers behind. Sometimes you've got to rock the leg a little bit. And we'll start our thumb presses around the patella. 3 concentric circles. Even though it's bony, it feels good. So nice firm pressure. Each circle a little bit bigger, thumb width bigger. So by the time we get that third pass, we're really coming around on the sides and the medial and lateral collateral ligaments. And on the tuberosity, we turn and push the leg away, prop it up this time with your left knee, and as need be, straighten out their pant leg. And we're working the 3 lines for the stomach channels with the left thumb. Just rocking your weight into your thumb and a little bit the knee. Second pass, thumb is across the fibers of the tibialis. At least until you run out of muscle. And just follow the tendon down to that central ankle hollow, back up to the top. Find that lateral edge of the tibialis. Okay, as we finish line 3, we release, step back with that left foot way back, push the leg further away, and left thumb comes up, find the head of the fibula, anterior inferior corner, and we start the gallbladder line along the anterior edge of the fibula, all the way down in front of the lateral malleolus. And distal to it is the sinus tarsi and gallbladder 40. That's our end point. We stand up and pick the foot up as we push the pant leg up out of the way and drape your ankle, your Achilles right over our thighs and right in the middle. Right hand clamps it down, circling the foot. One direction, then the other. Change again. A few more that way, and then reverse it. Then pivot, your fingers toward their heel, and dorsiflex. 3 or 4 of those. And then relax, bring your hand back around bottom of the foot, bring your right thumb around to join your hand and curl your fingers into position behind the malleolus. We'll start our 4-finger presses up the yin channels of the leg. Spleen first. Back to the ankle, liver channel. Back to the ankle. Third one is the most posterior, the kidney channel. All the way around the back of the knee to that medial dimple, assuming the pant leg isn't in your way. Just go as far as you can. And now we'll start our smoothing. So get all three channels there. And then we're going to focus on that part of the liver that we weren't able to get. It's on the shaft. It's just the lower half of the leg. And then we'll finish the whole thing off with the full fingers. Pull inside of the leg, stop at the top, grab the cuff, and pull the pant leg down. As we step to the foot of the table, we're right into spreading the dorsum of the foot. Nice stretch, not too much sliding. And the bottom of the foot. Maybe that's got a little more slide, but still it's all about moving the bones. Then alternate the top and the bottom. Get as much flexibility in their foot as you can. And step back with one foot and we'll start our slides. From the ankle through the MP joints all the way between the toes. Outer pair and inner pair, 3 rounds of each. So this is definitely more of a slide. Okay, then step up, widen your stance, horse stance. Left hand cradles the heel, right hand the toes this time for a vibrate. Let the toes slip out of your hand hold. Ready to brush off, walk your feet in, right hand goes to the little toe, and we start our squeezes. 3 lines on each toe. So 5 clamps per line, and then on to the next toe. Always working lateral to medial, both on the foot and the toe. Starting the second toe, lateral line, ends at stomach 45. And then both thumbs on the big toe. Headed for the nail points, liver 1 and 2. And down the middle, onto the nail. And then finishing with spleen and liver again. Give them a good double shot. Then we step between the feet and do the 2 lines on the medial aspect of the foot again. So the lower line is the arch line. Ends up under the ball and back to the heel. Second line is a little higher up, really the medial aspect, inferior to the bones. And we slide right into spleen 3, where we'll press and rotate. Make sure we're between the bone and the plantar fascia. Then squeeze both feet a couple of times. And colder, we might have to put socks back on, or we take the drape, bring it all the way down, cover the feet. But this time we step all the way up to the left arm. We're going to get it out from under the drape. 2 fingers in each hand. Gently traction, and then shake out the arm. Bouncing it against the table, just like we did our legs on the floor. Okay, then stepping up, left hand goes into the elbow, and they start pumping. So make sure their palm faces their head, their shoulder, so the radius is out of the way, and as soon as we're kind of clear, we'll start going clockwise with our circling. So left hand is pressing those points on the yin channels there at the elbow. Right hand just circling the forearm and the wrist. Marissa, make sure that the palm is rotated more. Some people got to work a little harder. So the wrist is basically in your palm. You've got control of their hand. You've got to rotate the radius out of the way. But we're done now. We're going to slide up. The hand that's in the elbow slides up to the hand and folds it back. And forth. Alternating. 6 or 8 of these. Last one, we're going to rock back and forth, and then bring the hand up to vertical and clamp. So get your hand position from the previous one should be perfect. All you got to do is tighten up, and you've got a good firm hold. Meanwhile, the right hand just distal to the styloids, clamps around the wrist, and you're able to rotate without grinding and clunking around. First one direction, then the other. And step back, palm is down now. We're going to spread the back of the hand. Then palm. And alternate. And thumbs at the wrist, start the slides all the way between the MP joints to the web margins, outer pair, then the inner pair comes either side of the middle finger. Moving on to the sides of our thumb to get through the knuckles. Change feet. So we're going to step back with the right foot as the right hand clasps the little finger. We're working the side lines first, then top and bottom. And repeat the sides. Put that finger down, pick up the ring finger, Sanjiao. Little finger was heart and small intestine. So fingers are longer, so 6 presses per pass. Put it down, pick up the middle finger, pericardium. Meanwhile, you've just got a hand hold with the left on the thenar eminence, and it's got a little traction on the arm. And your right hand's got a little bit of traction on the digits. So all the joints have a little traction on them, all the channels. So it takes the flow chi right on out to the nail points. Okay, as I finish the forefinger, I'm going to change feet and hands for the thumb. And we're going to start at the base of the first metacarpal. Thumb a little bit longer. So we still get our 6, maybe it's even more, 7 presses. Okay, as we finish the thumb, 3 passes, we push the hand away until it's vertical. Push the clothing out of the way so we get a good clean clamp on the wrist. It's mainly the heels of your palms clamp their ulna. Thumbs are one on the back of the hand, one in the palm, and now we step up to shoulder level and we get some traction. So that clamp shouldn't shift. Relax and dangle. And the second one, come up on our tiptoes, get a little more length, a little more traction. We get the shoulder and the scapula. And relax and dangle. And now step back with the right foot. We get about a 45-degree traction on the shoulder, stretch going through the shoulder, scapula all the way to the spine. And relax, dangle, and we're letting go and walking the hand down, just putting it on the table. And then we're quickly stepping to the top of the table, even their shoulders out. You don't get there fast, they'll do it for you. And with that foot well back, we'll go ahead and push the shoulders down towards the feet and stand up. Shoulders into the table, open the chest, and then step back again and get your fingers underneath the upper back. We'll massage that area between the spine and the scapula, that whole upper back. And working our way headward until we kind of come out. We'll stand up and our fingers massage the anterior margin of the traps back and forth across the shoulders a few times. And we want to end right next to the neck. We're then going to squeeze and hold the scalenes. Relax and slide out sideways as we step to our right. And we get this hand out from underneath the drape. And step back with your right foot, traction, shake out the arms. And step up. Right hand goes into the elbow. And the left hand, we've got to turn the palm toward the shoulder. Water pump, and this time it's a clockwise rotation, counterclockwise rotation. Lay the fingers in across the channels, the yin channels of the arm. That's probably enough of those. We step up and go into the wrist folding. Back and forth, flexion and extension. So here, make sure that their arm is aligned with your midline, and now your folding is perpendicular to that line. And you're looking right up their shoulder. You can see their face. You can see if they're grimacing, or if they open their eyes, or start to talk to you. You're ready for them. Okay, last one of these. We'll rock a little bit back and forth. And as we come up to vertical, we're clamping with both hands. And circling the wrist. First one way, then the other. And repeat. And step back with your right foot, palm goes down, you spread the back of the hand. And the palm. Alternate. And starting at the wrist, thumb slides all the way down to the web margins. Outer pair, inner pair. 3 times each. So to step back, you make sure you get yourself out of the way so you can clear. You can slide right on through without bumping into yourself or having to do anything weird with your fingers. Now we're going to step step up, change feet. So you step back with the left foot, and the left hand's going to start squeezing the little finger. Sides first, then top and bottom. And repeat the sides. So here's our heart 9 and small intestine 1. On to the triple burner finger. This ends at triple burner 1. Traction on the arm as a whole, not enough to pull them off center. And we got a little more traction on the digit. Open up the MP joint in the process, but it's not enough to really qualify as a pull. On the large intestine finger. Middle finger ended with pericardium 9. Here we'll end with large intestine 1 and change feet and hands for the lung, which will start at the base of the metacarpal. And we end at lung 11. When we finish that finger, we push the hand away, step up, take the sleeve out of the way, clamp their forearm, and step up shoulder level and traction. It depends on the table height and stuff, but maybe hopefully you don't have to go up on your tiptoes for that first one. Relax and dangle. And now the second one, we should definitely need to get up on our toes. And of course some people, depending on their height and your height, it'll be different. Okay, the third one, we're going to step back and pull laterally. Getting it stretch all the way to the spine. Relax, angle, and we're releasing our hand hold. And reaching over to the other side, we'll even out the shoulders from the wrists. Leave some space between the torso and the arms, and we'll step up and place our hands on their abdomen. So left hand upper abdomen, right hand lower. Thumbs at about the umbilical plane. We'll get in touch with their breathing. If you can't feel their breath all the way down, we'll gently pat them with the right hand and ask them to breathe down into this hand. And hopefully we're feeling pretty synced up. We're ready to rock. It takes a little bit more time to get them up to speed, but the principle is the same. Full body rocking, so check the feet, shoulders, and on this side the head should definitely be active as well. And we're just going to change it slightly by reaching across with our thumbs, and we can curl around the rectus muscle for the rectus rock. And then we can also work up and down. So remember your finger and thumb tips are on the spleen channel. We'll work up to the rib cage and then back down. We can go as low as about the ASIS level with our finger pads, and then we'll go back up again. Just getting a good rock and roll going. Back down again to the ASIS level, and then just back up a little bit back to the umbilical level, and we'll let the rocking drift down to almost nothing, and just as it's about to end, we'll segue into our cat pause. Just randomly working around the abdomen, but getting the whole abdomen from the costal margins down to the pubic bone, out to the ASISs. Perhaps a comment about it being okay to pass gas if that becomes necessary. And as we finish these up, we're migrating to the right lower quadrant. We're going to scoop up a skin roll there and lift. And at the top, with all the slack out, we'll dangle and put it back down. Move up, umbilical level. Scoop it up and dangle. Put it back down. Next one, third one on this side is just below the rib cage. Lift and dangle. Put it back down. Now we're to the far side, just below the rib cage. We're working down the descending colon. 3 more on this side. So remember, we're just kind of creating space within the abdomen for the organs to settle back into their natural position. And now the last 3 come right up the middle. We scoop up the renmi, and the kidney channel is just on either side of it, and the stomach just lateral to that. So we get at least those 3, and maybe even the spleen as well. Kind of get them all. So 9 of those all together. 3 up on the right, 3 down on the left, and 3 up the middle. We're now ready to pivot around. Keep your hamstrings all the way against the table. Left hand pivot the other way, Colleen. And so your right hand is at their ASIS. Your left hand's got their hand and wrist. And we can look over our shoulders, see their face, and talk to them. We're going to work with the breathing. So a little comment about giving them the power here to breathe us back out whenever they've had enough. So let's all breathe in together. And the first press is the cecum. Receivers, you got to remember to breathe all the way down into your belly, into the hand, where they can't feel you and can't respond. So don't breathe, just breathe with your chest. It'll never work. Okay, going up the ascending colon, it's time to let go of the wrist. And that hand, left hand, can come up by the shoulder as your right hand goes to the center for the transverse colon. So that was cecum, ascending, and hepatic flexure. Now transverse. And then the splenic flexure. All that's, those 5 are with the right hand. Release there. Leave the right hand there. Bring the left hand in just below it. Should be in perfect position for the descending colon. Between the rib cage and the pelvis. And now the last one on this side. Got the ASIS under your fingers. Should be over the sigmoid colon. Very last one, number 8, is for the bladder. We just pivot into the center and push down toward this table and then toward the feet. We should feel the pubic bone, and that's our cue for where to start our diamond presses. And that will be CV2. And we're just going to work right up the conception vessel, the renmi. One point at a time. Sinking in and down. Don't force it. Don't push your way in. Just follow their breathing. And let them let you in. at the umbilicus, you may have to spread your fingers a little bit wider so you don't get one just down inside. And then just continue above the umbilicus. We're shooting here to get about 6 presses from the pubic bone to the umbilicus, and then 6 more above the umbilicus before we hit the xiphoid. But as long as we were not taking too big a step, we should be more or less continuous all the way along. Feel assured you didn't miss anything. Sometimes at the top it gets kind of narrow. Just do the best you can, and if you need to slip your left fingers up on top of your right one, that's okay. Are we all there? Okay, we just go up a little bit to the xipho-sternal junction. So we're skipping the xiphoid, and we'll start right there with 3-finger press and rotate. And then just continue right up the sternum. 3 fingers are just about the width of the sternum. And we're looking for the valleys between the ridges, but you can probably feel both. We'll just spiral our way up the sternum till we realize we're on the manubrium. It's a little wider and flatter, and then we'll snake our middle finger over the sternal notch and pull down toward their feet. And then separating our fingers just below the sternal heads of the clavicle, kidney 27. And then just below that should be the first intercostal space. Sometimes it's not very far. And then we're counting, so first to second, second to third, third to fourth, fourth to fifth. And here's where I recognize that sometimes bras are a little bit in the way. Just do the best you can. Try to find those intercostal spaces. And remember that 5th one is sometimes a little bit wide. And so you got to reach a little further. So that's this hold, either with your index, thumb and index, or thumb and middle finger. You should be able to definitely reach. Now we jump over the costal margin and start our thumb walk. So this is equivalent of our stroking. So this is a little more deliberate. Getting underneath the rib cage, not pushing onto the costal margin, costal cartilage. Be careful of that 10th rib. Sometimes feels like it's floating in there. We'll go down as far as we can, staying on the front. Then back up to the top as close to the xiphoid as you can start, because it's tightest up there. And seeing if we can get in a little further. Hopefully things opened up and we are actually able to get a little further. It might feel just as intense to them because we're just kind of following the level of tension and going in further each time. And now the third round will be our last one, last thumb lock. So we get to that point where it feels like we can't really go any further with the walking. And we'll start to go squeeze simultaneously with both thumbs. We'll work around the sides underneath the 11th rib. Get as close to the table as you can. Then slide your fingers underneath and massage the low back, kidneys. Tip of the 12th rib is under there somewhere. And then we'll stand up and slide our little fingers along the iliac crest, then thumbs out parallel, should have them level with the umbilicus. You can pull the shirt tail up and see if how well that worked out on them. Remember, Limbs are a little higher on men. Anyway, once we're there, mid-rectus, we're going to press and rotate. Key point on the stomach channel there. Then we're going to slide to the sides, mid-axillary lines. Make sure the heel of your palm is solidly on the rib cage, not on floating ribs. Elbows out. We're going to squeeze and churn. So, squeezing the breath out, and as we let go, the breath sucks back in, so kind of like a bellows. Good little workout. Then we'll stand up and pat the spleen with your right hand cupped. So lots of air in your cup. And you can go up and down a little bit, but not too much. And then we'll come across the bottom of the rib cage. We're turning around. And now we'll pat the liver on this side. So both times as the fingers point toward the table, generally works better than anything else you could do. Now we're going to drift back in across the bottom of the rib cage, and as we go, we're going to form the crane beak as we get to the sternum right there at the xiphosternal junction, and we're going to tap up and down the sternum. Don't hit anything soft. So don't go as far as the solar plexus. Don't hit the throat. We'll go up and down a couple of times. And then just back up to the level of the fourth intercostal space. It's the nipple line. That's CV17. We're going to pivot there, walking to the head. We'll slide our thumbs to the clavicle and deltopectoral triangle and lung 2. Press and rotate. And then down a little bit to lung 1. Press and rotate. And now Kimberly and I are going to rotate so you can see what I'm doing. We'll just spin around. Maybe you guys don't have to move. Okay. So now from lung 1, we just pivot on our thumbs, fold our fingers across their chest, and now the heels of your palms are at lung 1 and 2. And we're going to work the chest, pushing with the exhale, and letting them breathe us back out. A little more resistance than on the abdomen. Second press is over the sternum, fingers point footward. And then the third one, fingers wing out, leave the space of the sternum between your wrists. And then we slide to the sides, mid-axillary lines. We'll squeeze 3 relatively quickly, trying to get all the way back to the axilla. And a lot of times the first time you can't, grab their biceps, roll them in, elbows out, and now you should be able to get to the bottom of the axilla at least, and we pivot from there back to our start position and catch the next exhale, pushing off the back foot. Your breath push you out for the third one. We forgot to make sure our shirt tails were tucked in so they don't drag across their face. Mine was still tucked in. Up the sides and pivot back to the top position. Actually, did we do 3 already? No, that was 2. Okay, now we're ready for the third one. Probably the deepest of the 3. Each time we're trying to push it a little bit more. As they get used to it, they can let it happen more easily unless there's something really uncomfortable there, and they'll start to resist. But generally speaking, you're able to go farther, go deeper, and we'll get the hang of it. Sides, that's just one exhalation. We're at the axilla, now slide down the inside of the arm to the wrist. We're going to fold the hands over the abdomen, then slide up the outside of the arms to the shoulders. We're going to jiggle briefly to even things out, and then with one foot back, we're going to push towards the shoulders toward the feet. And stand up, shoulders into the table. Open the chest, and then slide back, forearms on the table again, so we can get the upper back. Just circling your finger, you just push up into their back and circle your fingers and cover that whole space as best you can, and we're spiraling headward in the process. Here we start coming out, we'll stand up and lever our thumbs into the anterior margin of the traps and work back and forth across the shoulders. Can't go very far. We run into the clavicle, back and forth a few times, kind of rolling the trapezius between our fingers and our thumbs. And we're going to end next to the neck again, but this time instead of squeezing the scalenes, we're going to wing our elbows out, turn our thumb pads into the side of the neck, and start up the neck with thumb circles. I'm just following that posterior, the trapezius, the anterior edge, but it's quite posterior of the neck. Okay, then we're going to do it with our fingers. Look at the full fingers, the back and the sides. Thumbs are not doing anything. Get a nice rotation through the neck. And then slide one hand all the way underneath with your thumb part of the hand. Other hand goes to the top of the head to stabilize it. We're going to squeeze the back of the neck with just the one hand. And watch the front, watch their throat. You should be able to see the skin draw taut across the throat, so we know we're getting all the channels. Thyroid. Then we're going to bring the other hand in, and we're going to make the arch. The first one is low on the neck. And step back, traction and lengthen. And mid-neck arch. Step back with the other foot. Traction. Step up, base of the skull. Head hang back, the throat opens up. Change feet again as you step back and traction. And then stepping up, we're going to do that again, but faster and not as extremely. So it's got more of a wave-like action to it. And I repeat it a little bit more. Not so much counting. I am thinking about kind of the relative 3 places, but it's pretty much feels like it's the whole back of the neck. And then as I finish, I'll step back a little bit, scoop their head up into my hands, and drag the back of the head, and comb the hair headward and over the top of the table. And get all the lumps out. And of course, making sure that we don't drop the head. So nice and slow and steady, very relaxing. Let's get that other hand in there just before it's about to fall out of your hands. And the last one, we just lay it down on the table, and we'll go into the ears with our hands, gently at first, kind of testing the waters, but then gradually adding more pressure for the massage and more stretch. Okay, and getting the hair out of the ears, we'll go to the earlobes, the first part of the massage, and work our way up from there along the perimeter of the ear, the helix, till we get to the apex, and we go a little bit further all the way to the attachment. Then we reverse it and start back down. We get the antehelix all the way back down to the lobe, and that cartilage down there is the antitragus. That's a good thumb hold, and then we can get the backs of the ears with our finger pads. And coming out from that, we'll pinch the tragus a few times. And slide our fingers down into the concha and do our sweeps, looping in and out. You just find that kind of S curve pattern. And about 3 times out and back in, and then fingers behind the ear, index finger in front. We're going to churn. You're going to slide back with one foot for that. Works better than that wide stance. See how your back inches over. And this doesn't take long. We slide out from behind and to the front as we step up. Fingers to the TMJ. We're going to massage and linger there. Thinking about all the tapping we did in the Daoyin on the face, and they all went here. But then after a little bit, we'll just head down the masseter to the mandible, and then forward to the chin. And slip your fingers underneath the jaw, thumbs down on the chin, the mentalis muscle. We'll start thumb circles there. Giving that muscle a good little workout. And then back along the flat of the mandible till we get to the masseter insertion. We're going to linger there with thumb circles. And now your fingers are right there at the angle of the jaw. We're going to curl them in underneath the jaw. Our finger walk back to the chin, and only one finger fits. Other hand goes to the hairline and stabilizes the head while we massage the root of the tongue. Doesn't matter which hand. And we step back out. Fingers again supporting the jaw, thumbs down right on the chin dimple, and we'll start our first line, the mandible line. Laterally from the midline to the ears. And all these lines on the face will go all the way to the ear. And basically that vertical line right in front of the tragus. Okay, second line starts at CV24. We'll press and rotate there, and then put your thumbs down on either side of it and work the lower gum line. Feel the roots of the teeth, not the teeth themselves. And right through the masseter, we're going to go all the way to the ear. Again, we'll end up a little higher up, probably mid-lobe here. And we're going back to the midline at the philtrum this time, into the governing vessel. We'll press and rotate, 26, 27, 28. And then thumbs on either side of the philtrum. Now you can curl your fingers up on their cheeks. You don't need to support their jaw anymore. And we're pressing the upper gum line. It's a good thing we learned all these in the Daoyin, huh? And this time we should be, if we looked, we'd be about at the notch at the ear. Okay, back to the nose. Large intestine 20 is our start point. Press and rotate. And then this one's different. We're rolling onto the side of our thumbs and pushing back toward the top of their head, or toward our dantian with our thumbs. Up underneath. The maxilla and zygomatic till we get to the ear, and then back to the nose, finding the junction of bone and cartilage. And now as we come out onto the cheeks, we're on top of the cheekbones for the first time. So elbows out, use your pecs. Some firm pressure. This is the line that should end at small intestine 19, right in front of the tragus. And back to the nose. This time we're higher up. We're onto the bridge of the nose from below. And that will then let us slide right down into the infraorbital ridge. Gentle but firm, and make sure you release the skin, don't pull it. We get around to the outer canthus, then roll across the bones onto the temple, and out across the side of the head to the ear. We're at the supratragic notch now, and we come back to the nose bridge from above and slide into the supraorbital ridge. So thumb tips point toward the nose and the midline. Don't hook your thumbs. Use the soft pad. We get to the outer canthus just like the previous line, and we rock out onto the temple, but we take a slightly higher line, and I mean just slightly, out to the ear. But this is probably the last one that hits the ear. We're right there at the attachment. This one or the next one. Now back to the point between the eyebrows. Yintang is its name. It's an extra point, but it is on the governing vessel. And then we do our eyebrow line. So using as much thumb pad as you can. So that means sideways. And now this is the first one that might go all the way to the apex forehead. Thumb width apart, so it works out perfectly. We just do 3 passes. All of these are going to the apex line, extended up from the apex of the ear. It's very slow and deliberate, very methodical. But especially these forehead lines, good firm pressure. We know that forehead work feels good. And of course you got to press equally, so that means use your pecs, or you wind up pushing the head one way. Okay, this last one should end in the middle of the side of the head. That's an important point, gallbladder 8. Now we're going to comb through the hair. If you need to dry your hands off, just wipe them on your clothes before you start. And first order business is straightening the hair out. So sometimes that takes a while, sometimes it's basically already there. Trying to get all the way to the skull, all the way to the scalp, and really stimulating those channels and points. The little fingers run right down along the governing vessel. The rest of the fingers just fan out, and we get the bladder and gallbladder lines and all its variations. And the thumb comes down right along the top of the ear. So once we got the hair combed out, 6 or 8 of those, and let's just say this one now is the last one. The fingers hit the table. We're going to kneel down, and our hands go around to the base of the skull. We're going to massage the occiput back and forth a few times, making sure we're thorough. Get all the way out to the mastoid process, the tip of the mastoid process. Gallbladder 12 is there. And so that's right behind the ears. And then all the way into the governing vessel with one hand. It's governing vessel 15 and 16. We got key points, bladder 10, gallbladder 20 on that line too. In gallbladder 20, we want to specifically find that big hollow between the SCM and the trapezius. You want your middle finger to end up there. And then your other 2 fingers are on either side of it, so you've got a good hold on the occiput. Brace your forearms against the top of the table, pull them toward you, and start your occiput rock. Pull their head right towards your chest. You're up high enough, you should be able to see their toes moving. Good rock going there, so now the whole spine. Down to the lumbosacral junction. Working right down through the leg joints to the strength. we're going to stop with some traction and slowly let go as we sit back into Seiza. Bring your thumbs around to the top of the head. So put one thumb on the table, then the other thumb on top of it. Then bring the table thumb up to that level. That should be by grade. GB20 look. Go inside. And focus on vibrating. Their celestial connection. Source of beyond. And we'll spend about 3 respirations at each station. And follow the yang down from here to the lower dantian. Feel them breathing in your belly and your dantian. Just like we practice, just like we felt. From there we're going to split and go down the legs to bubbling spring, Yom Tron, kidney 1. And the earth connection, which of course is the source of the yin. At that point open, so the yin can freely flow in and up. And we're going to follow it back up and flow up from the feet to the dantian again. And just visualizing all of this as best you can. Whatever works for you. Just staying focused. And we'll come back up to byway. Conclude where we started. So full circuit, top to bottom, bottom back to the top. That's the macrocosmic orbit. Everything's balanced out, and the yang are flowing equally, freely, front and back, up and down are balanced, everything harmonized. We're at the end of the massage, we're ready to let go. We're going to say goodbye and energetically disconnect. And then as we open our eyes, we're going to physically disconnect. Fingers first. Get them out of the hair, then the thumbs second or last, and slide out of their hair gracefully, hopefully without pulling any. And then find yourself a position nearby to wait for them to come around. She's already awake. And we're doing pretty good.